Hello gorgeous, and welcome to where I do my hair, my makeup, and talk about whatever I want and whatever you want. And today I want to have a rant, a cheeky little rant about being a girl boss. Being on the grind, hustling until you are so burnt out that you are an insignificant pile of ash. Because that is how you succeed in life.
That's so true.
By now, I'm guessing that you've at least seen it, or you've at least heard the audio of Kim K giving advice to women in business, saying that they need to get their asses up and do the fucking work, because it's like no one wants to work these days. If you haven't had the pleasure of hearing this audio or seeing this video, here it is.
I have the best advice for women in business. Get your fucking ass up and work. It seems like nobody wants to work these days. That's true.
There's so many points of view in this conversation and so many different opinions flying around that it's like that scene in Harry Potter with all of the keys. Kim had a head start. Kim was born into money, education, and connections. Kim was just trying to inspire women in business. What she said is inspirational. Her head start included being slut-shamed and slammed in the media as a whore for years. She has actually worked her ass off and done a lot of badass work over the years. She was a crucial reason why Alice Marie Johnson was released from her life sentence. Good point, but terrible execution of the point. For what it's worth, here's where I sit. Kim K, in my personal opinion, has had a pretty mixed bag of a life. She has had some insanely high highs that are incredibly unobtainable for the vast majority. But she has also endured some absolutely horrific things that I wouldn't wish upon anyone that she of course didn't deserve. She has of course worked extremely hard over the years, because being able to overcome this whore label from the media to a fashion icon is no easy task. And I say that in both the career context but also the emotional context. Inspiring women in business to work hard is an absolutely fantastic thing to do, and I also think that acknowledging that social media makes gaining a life of incredible wealth and luxury an easy thing to do when that just isn't the reality is also an incredible thing to do. But her point definitely could have been presented in a far better way that didn't undermine the efforts of women who weren't born into the same privileges as Kim and her sisters. Hence why I'm not surprised that Kim's being dragged by the internet, because her point did come across incredibly tone deaf. But isn't that just the whole ideology of girl bossing, hustle culture, and grind culture that's plaguing the internet? You have to work harder than anyone and everyone else, because that is how you become successful. With seemingly absolutely no deviations to this rule, when someone's trying to sell you this dream of being one of the big social media stars, it's always
be on the grind 24/7. You can sleep when you're a millionaire. If you work the hardest, you succeed the hardest.
But let's be honest, this just isn't right. Like, it is, but it also isn't. It just depends on what you deem as hard work. Is it the length of which a person can work? Is it how fast a person can work, and therefore how many singular tasks they can cram into a singular hour? Is it mental exhaustion? Is it physical exhaustion? How do we quantify which is harder and which is easier work? Because from my perspective at least, that kid at Macca's slinging burgers all day is going home exhausted, been working for hours on their feet all day and rushing to keep up with the pace of customers' orders. A psychologist who has been working with patients all day is probably going home exhausted, been working for hours trying to help people constructively, but at the same time not take on the patient's emotions as their own. I would say that both jobs are hard work, and that both of these people are going home wanting to curl up in bed and do nothing. But the reality of the situation is that there is an incredible pay gap between the burger slinger and the psychologist. I do understand why, but that doesn't mean that I agree with the dollar amount of minimum wage. This may seem like an odd analogy, I know, but I'm just trying to articulate as best I can that there is no way to measure what is and what isn't hard work. Because one, there's just too many factors to consider when trying to quantify what might be harder, and two, it's all subjective at the end of the day. And that's where this conversation can get really messy, because some of this subjective opinion, of course, is going to be influenced by any bias or prejudice a person might have. Trevor Noah actually said something last year to 60 Minutes that gave me one of those well damn kind of moments that actually changed some of how I perceive things. Simply when Trevor was asked the question, did Dave Chappelle cross the line in his latest Netflix special, The Closer? Trevor said that half of society is saying that Dave did cross the line, but half of society is saying that Dave didn't cross the line. So therefore, the line doesn't exist, because he only crossed the line depending on what side of the line you were standing on. There's a lot of things that I've seen and heard in this world where I thought, wow, that's awful. Wow, that is definitely crossing the line because I'm standing on this specific side of the line. But I know there's quite a lot of things that I've done and said that a lot of people would look at and think that I'm crossing the line. It just depends what side of the line you're standing on. Do I think there's discrimination in society? Yes. Do I think this discrimination would result in someone affected having to work harder than someone who isn't? Yes. Do I think that some of this hard work includes the emotional and mental toll of trying to not be discouraged every time someone treats you as lesser? Yes. Does that mean that everyone will consider these factors? No. With what is quantified and qualified as hard work, of course I'm going to have different thoughts and opinions as to whether someone has been working hard enough because we are perceiving the conversation from two different perspectives. There's something as complex as I mentioned before, but also, for lack of better phrasing, there's something as simple as where I would look at the macro context, the whole picture, to determine if someone's working hard enough by asking where they grew up, what school they went to, what their family dynamic is like. Someone may just look at the micro context, would just look at the right now and be asking, what are you doing right now to achieve your goals and successes? But not only is work hard just an ineffective measurement for success, and yes, I understand that this could be me focusing too much on semantics, but it also just isn't the whole picture. You want to be able to create that delicious, decadent chocolate cake. Hard work is just the flour.
I love me some warm flour.
But there's also knowing where to put this hard work, because you could be working hard, but working hard in the wrong places. Like, it's easy to sit there and say, go to the gym and work hard, but like, everybody's different. Everybody's goals are different, so therefore everyone's going to have to train differently to achieve the results they desire. For me personally, running is no joke bad for me. The motion of running and therefore the thudding increases too much strain and pressure on my spine and therefore my scoliosis, which could result in an increased risk of arthritis and osteoporosis later in my life. I don't know about you, but I don't wake up in the morning and think, I really want me some arthritis today. But high endurance training like walking on the Stairmaster for 30 minutes will save my spine but also give me the same cardio results as a run. I'm not working less or more in either option, but I am working in the best place for me personally if I go with the second option, the Stairmaster option. So with context to social media, where do you put this hard work? Is it how many videos you post? Is it what you do in the videos that you post? Is it how you edit the videos that you post? Is it managing all of your social media accounts at the same time? Or is it your look, your aesthetic? So many people will try and sell you this dream of being a YouTuber, a TikToker, an Instagram star, a Twitch streamer as easy as hard work or just working the hardest, but not saying where to work hard, but also just not acknowledging all of the other aspects. For example, something as simple as luck, because so many of our big social media stars have had some sort of moment of luck. Posting the right video at the right time, being on the right platform at the right time. Whatever algorithm working in their favor for whatever reason that started the trajectory to their online career. I don't know if I'm vibing the middle part. Have they worked their butts off since this initial fame? I would say so, because otherwise they probably would have faded into irrelevancy quite quickly after this viral wave hit the shore. These efforts shouldn't go overlooked and they shouldn't be undermined, but this initial jump start just isn't the reality for everyone. Think about it. If James Charles never posted his high school yearbook photo highlighter tweet, if Nikki Tutorials never posted the power of makeup, if Brent Manrock never posted his how to contour video to Instagram, if Michelle Phan, Jacqueline Hill, Jackie Aina, Zoella didn't post to YouTube as early as they did, would they still have been able to stand out? If Logan Paul and Jake Paul didn't gain some sort of popularity on Vine first? All of these people have worked incredibly hard for what they have, and there is absolutely no way to deny that. But there is a touch of luck that they have in their recipes that not everyone is going to have. Also, having some initial financial freedom as a creator is incredibly handy and productive to have. With makeup content, if we have 3 creators, we have one with a $5,000 budget, one with a $500 budget, and one with a $50 budget to start off their makeup collection. Which creator is going to be the most likely to bust out the more complex, intricate, engaging looks that will hook viewers in? The $5,000. Because any and every makeup product or tool is within their budget and therefore at their disposal, where they could easily buy a black liquid liner to be able to achieve that crisp wing that we all crave. The $50 budget, they may just have to decide between lipstick and that liquid liner, so instead they make do with what they have, and that black eyeshadow is going to have to achieve that crisp wing, which, for those who don't know, is a lot more difficult. This doesn't mean that the smaller budget can't bust out some absolutely spectacular, intricate, glorious looks, but it does mean that they will have to utilize their ingenuity to be able to achieve achieve the same result as the other budget. For a creator, this initial financial freedom could mean that a camera, lighting, microphones, PCs, laptops, editing programs, any tools or props for videos is absolutely no financial concern. But for others, of course it's going to be a concern. But this also could mean that a creator could afford to work less in a second job, being able to allocate more time to making and producing videos. Whereas another creator just might not be able to spare the work hours in order to survive, and therefore doesn't have the same amount of time to allocate into making and producing videos. This doesn't mean that one is working harder than the other. This just means that one is able to work harder in the correct place. I could, of course, go on and on about this flawed ideology of hard work equals success about hustlers, grinders, and girl bosses. But I do want to talk about more than just the hollowness of this specific statement. Because when I say hollow, I do actually mean hollow in some sense. Our girl bosses, hustlers, and grinders are just the same pair of stinky old socks, just sprayed with a different perfume. It's still the same pair of stinky old socks. The difference that I've found is seemingly just feminine versus masculine. I am sure that at one point or another we have all had those motivational, inspirational quotes with some sort of picture in the background slammed across our Instagram feeds. Typically rest is criticized, but exhaustion is rewarded. So something along the lines of, one day off is one step back.
Because how dare you take a day for yourself? The only self-care that we want to see is being on the grind.
Now for our girl bosses, we typically have some beautiful pastels in the background, some sort of floral arrangement with some beautiful cursive white writing for the inspirational quote. For our hustlers, our grinders, we typically make the background abs, or a lion, or a wolf, because
Alpha or nothing!
With some sort of blunt, bold font for the inspirational quote. Same dumb quote, just different marketing. Same sentiment of rest equals laziness, and working yourself to death is the best thing that you could be doing! Except this one's Tweety. Is that one is marketed towards men making everything incredibly masculine, and one is marketed towards women making everything incredibly feminine. From this marketing, these cultures are able to prey upon their chosen demographic, exploiting their insecurities and building them up with hits of inspiration and therefore hits of dopamine. It's typically draw in the people that are feeling lost and alone with hopes and dreams of belonging and success. For men, it's, you're ugly, you're poor, women don't want to sleep with you, become a hustler and you will have all of the money, success, and titties you could ever want. For women, it's, you're ugly, you're poor, you will die alone. But success is beautiful, success is empowering, and this success will help you love yourself. So these lost souls will watch a video or listen to a podcast, finish this video or podcast, and feel inspired. Guess what chemicals the brain releases during inspiration? The happy ones. Specifically, our beautiful friend dopamine, which is actually linked to addiction. But also, talk about two birds, one stone, you've also made a step towards achieving your goals of success because you finished that video or podcast. And guess what chemical our brain releases when we achieve something? You guessed it, dopamine. Studies have shown that's actually why leveling up in a game feels so good, because you achieve something and you get hit with our buddy dopamine, which means that you want to level up more because we crave the dopamine. This isn't me saying that girl bosses, grinders, and hustlers are addicted to the culture, and this also definitely isn't me trying to equate these cultures with something like addiction. This is just me saying that these cultures are able to manipulate this brain chemistry into this consumption versus action or application imbalance. Because people will buy these self-help girl boss hustle culture books and they will pay to go to seminars, listen to podcasts, or watch videos that these gurus are being paid for, and at the end of every book, seminar, podcast, and video, people are getting hit with this dose of inspiration, this dose of dopamine. And you can get hit with that level of dopamine once again so quickly if you just buy another book, go to another seminar, listen to another podcast, or watch another video, far quicker than if you actually applied what is being preached. Essentially, an action fake or action faking. MJ DeMarco is the person most attributed to this concept of action faking or an action fake. In his book, The Great Rat Race, he says that action faking gives you a faux sense of accomplishment, often stimulating a dopamine release with ineffective action. You consume more content from the girl boss hustler communities than you do actually contributing to it. With each piece of media you're consuming, you are hit with that dopamine and that sense of achievement, even though the only thing you've really achieved is listening to the same point of work harder if you want to succeed in different phrasing, but still paying your guru for it. But your brain doesn't know because it's still got the dopamine, which I find incredibly interesting diving into it, because these cultures preach to work yourself to death to make yourself a millionaire rather than doing it for someone else, yet these gurus are able to sit back after a seminar with their pockets filled with cash and yours empty. So when you think about it, Jake Paul and Austin McBroom, who really really put the emphasis on fake, have both at one point or another served up for their loyal viewers on a silver platter that their viewers of course had to pay for. This glorious tale of how hard they had to hustle to get to where they are, how hard they had to work that grind to get to where they are, and how you could do it too if you were just willing to work harder. Unsurprisingly, these two were exposed quite quickly for just how awful and suspicious these courses were, but it doesn't matter. People understand the power they have with their audience, and people understand the power they have with their platforms, and regardless of if they know they're doing it or not, they're still manipulating the dopamine in their audience's brains and the money in their pockets, selling them an action fake. Some people will be as blunt as Jake and Austin when it comes to manipulating this consumption versus action imbalance, but some will be more subtle with videos and podcasts where all you're donating to the guru is your time, and the ads on the platform will pay them. But your time is precious. You can always earn more money, but you can never get back lost time. Let me take a second to be incredibly clear. Self-help is fantastic. Going out and actively trying to become the best version of yourself, the healthiest version of yourself, is fantastic. I'm actively trying to do the same thing, and I would encourage everyone to try as hard as they can to find their happiness, because you deserve to be happy, you deserve success, and you deserve to feel loved. But just because you find happiness in something doesn't mean that it's healthy. Toxic positivity, I am sure you have heard thrown throughout all corners of the internet, and if you haven't, I'm sure you have experienced it at some point. This smothering of positivity until a person's emotions or ability to cope or seek help is stifled, because it could be worse. Everything happens for a reason. Being an optimist is fantastic. Having a positive outlook on life is fantastic, but not to the extent where a person feels like their struggles just aren't being heard, and not to the point where you don't allow yourself to feel the sads or any other negative emotion. To me personally, contrast is what makes life exciting. It doesn't mean that I look forward to the awful shit, but it means that I am able to experience all the good things to their truest extent. Because I know devastation, I can know euphoria. I can never know one if I never know the other. You're burnt out as a creator? Well, at least you can be a creator. Not many people get this opportunity. Oh, you have this one really nasty comment on one of your videos, but you have all of these hundreds of other ones that are loving and supportive? Just ignore the negative one. Oh, your latest video didn't do as well as your videos typically do? Well, you have this one video in the past that did extremely well. Like, yes, of course, not everyone gets to be a creator. Not every comment is nasty, and not every video is going to do well. But at the same time, if you're feeling sad about it, feel sad about it. If you're feeling an emotion about it, feel an emotion about it, because they're valid. There isn't an instruction manual as to how to be the perfect person, because it's impossible to be a perfect person. If you have an emotion, it's yours, whether it's a good or a bad emotion. There isn't one rule saying that you can't feel burnt out, that you can't be affected by this one negative comment, that one video that doesn't perform well isn't allowed to hit you. This constant motion, this constant hustle, this constant girl bossing, this constant grinding just eliminates a person's ability to be able to feel the downs, especially as a creator with how rampant this culture is within our social media culture. Unfortunately, if you don't allow yourself to feel the downs, how can you truly feel the ups unless they're so monumental that you would have to put in legitimate effort to miss them? But not only is there this toxic positivity, so many creators and so many people aspiring to be creators are feeling just emotionally zapped, but physically they're feeling zapped as well, because exhaustion is rewarded within this culture. When someone asks, "How are you?" if you aren't saying, "Oh, I've been so incredibly busy, I've barely had time to eat," then what have you been doing? It's almost like it's a competition within these kinds of conversations. Right? Who's the most strung out? Who's slept the least? Who's skipped the most meals? Winner, winner! You've earned yourself a step closer to a complete breakdown! Yay! I don't really think that I have to say this out loud, but our old mate science actually says that eating relieves death and death-like symptoms. Our old mate science actually says that sleeping relieves death and death-like symptoms. But also, our old mate science has actually shown that a healthy balance of work, sleep, socializing, and eating actually makes a person more productive than when you're burnt the fuck out. Riddle me this. If your heart was failing and you needed immediate heart surgery and the hospital you went to was like, "Yo, we have these two doctors." The first doctor spent all day yesterday just relaxing, having some time off, spent the day with their partner, spent the day with their two fur babies, had a beautiful dinner, had 8 hours sleep, and woke up this morning and had a really good breakfast. And the second doctor actually did a 14-hour shift yesterday, had a cup of noodles for dinner, had 3 hours sleep, and a coffee for breakfast. Who are you wanting to do your heart surgery? Why? So why is it that being exhausted is the standard? Like, if in this life and death scenario you are going to be picking doctor number one because you are going to feel safer in their hands, then why is it that striving for this balance of work, rest, and play isn't what's being rewarded? Because it's not what these people at the top are saying is the standard. No one wants to hear that the way that you became a millionaire was because you led a safe life. You had a safe job and you made safe financial choices. They want to hear your rags to riches. They want to hear all of the suffering that you endured. They want to hear all of the hurdles that you overcame to get to where you are, because they can relate to this, because they can empathize with this, they can see themselves in your original position. The art of storytelling is dangerous when used by the wrong person. These people at the top say that rich people don't sleep 8 hours a day because that's a third of your life wasted.
Rich people don't sleep 8 hours a day. That's a third of your life.
They say to get your ass up and fucking work, because it's like no one wants to work these days.
I have the best advice for women in business. Get your fucking ass up and work. It seems like nobody wants to work these days. That's true.
They say this. I understand that what I am about to say is glaringly obvious, but with this culture, it still needs to be said out loud. But working yourself into the ground isn't building yourself up, it's tearing yourself to rubble, and I don't understand why it's still this really weird standard and why it's still rewarded. My only assumption, and I say assumption because I couldn't find any literature to back up this statement, but as people, we are curious creatures. We are constantly looking for answers. We are constantly looking for evidence. If someone tells you that they've been working hard and they look incredibly peppy and they look well rested, whereas someone else is saying that they've been working hard and they look completely drained, you can see the evidence in the second person's exhaustion. Once again, I don't actually know if this is correct, but it's all I can assume, because any medical professional isn't going to be praising you for skipping meals and not sleeping. If anything, they're going to be concerned, like anyone should be. But the sad thing is, even though I'm talking about girl boss culture, hustle culture, grind culture in context to media, specifically social, because that's the world that I know, it isn't just here. This idea of the harder you work, the more success you will have is ingrained in us in school. Study harder, do more extracurricular. If someone's grades are better than yours, it's because they're working harder than you. When in reality, there's so many other factors that come into play with this. Does the student have to work before or after school? Does the student have the correct support outside of school for their education? Does the student have internet at home? Does the student get any extra assistance? Does the student have any medical issues that are interfering with their education? Just because you can't see all of the work going into a single action doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Ultimately, there is a lot of issues in our media sphere and creator sphere. This girl boss, hustle, grind culture BS is just one of hundreds of flaws in our media. This doesn't mean that you shouldn't work hard, and this doesn't mean that you shouldn't seek to be the best version of yourself, but it does mean that this system that is preached by our girl bosses, our hustlers, and our grinders is built for the vast majority to fail. Wild concept, but people shouldn't feel shamed or guilty for taking a break, for having a rest, for sitting down and actually enjoying life. Because if you are grinding 24/7 for 10 years straight, there is a lot that you are unfortunately going to miss and never be able to get back. Whereas if you took an extra few years to get to the same point, you could have had both. We as people, even though we are quite strong, are still a very delicate system of balance. We need balance in all aspects of our life to perform to our fullest potential. It doesn't take an absolute genius to understand that sleep, food, and socializing actually helps people to function. It actually increases functionality. So as creators, where our form of media is the most relatable, most achievable, and I would dare say most influential, we should cut the shit and we should start celebrating our achievements rather than celebrating the struggle. And with all of that said and done, that is it. That is all of my thoughts and opinions in one messy video.
That's so true.
How are we all feeling? Because I'll be honest, I don't know what I'm feeling right now, because I know that there was a lot just jam-packed into this video. Just over the last few weeks, I found a lot of things happening at the same time that kind of birthed this video, for lack of better phrasing, because I had a lot of things happening in my personal life, which I'm going to be explaining in more depth on my vlog channel for those who are interested. If you're not interested, that is a-okay with me. But then Kim also came out with the if you don't get up and work, whatever that was, and then at the same time, the other day I was editing a video and I legitimately thought to myself, I can sleep when this video is edited. I can eat when this video is edited. edited, and it's just like, are you a moron, JJ? Come on! You know better than to fall down that hustler culture rabbit hole bullshit. I personally am just as guilty as everyone else, and I still have to remind myself that, hey, this whole like, work harder, you get more success, stupid. That's not reality. That is just not reality, and the sooner I accept that as a person, I think I will be able to be more productive. I think I will be able to be more successful because I will strive more for that work, life, fun, sleep, eating balance rather than striving to like work to live, don't live to work, if that makes sense. Either way, before I get completely off track, what are all of your thoughts and opinions? What do you think of this video? What do you think of what Kim K said, what Steve Harvey said? What do you think of this girl boss culture, hustler culture, grind culture? Because if you don't know me, hi, hello, welcome, I'm JJ, and I love learning, and one of the best ways that I can learn is to read all of your thoughts, opinions, perspectives, and comments. But also, please let me know what you want me to talk about, because I know what I want me to talk about next, but I don't know what you want me to talk about next unless you tell me. But while you're letting me know all of your thoughts, opinions, and what you want me to talk about next, also please let me know what you think of my face. This is delicious. This is absolutely delicious. Fight me. She's getting better with the black shadow blend. Like, this is definitely a step up from some of the absolute monstrosities I've made in the past. She's looking quite cute. She's looking quite scrumdiddly-umptious. I've been seeing this cut crease shape all over Instagram. I've tried it once before, but I wanted to go a little bit more like heavy-handed with it. I think I might have gone a step too far, but I think she still looks cute. I think she still looks quite fabulous. The only thing I'm kind of thrown by is my hair right now. It's not a significant difference, but it's a difference enough that I'm like, is this me right now? Because for those who don't know, I typically have a side part. I've had a lot of comments being like, I wonder what JJ would look like with a middle part. This is it. I don't know if I like it. Do I like it? I'm not sure if I enjoy this vibe. And before I get completely carried away, thank you so much for watching this video, especially if you made it to here, because I know your girl likes to chat, your girl likes to ramble, and typically my videos are on the lengthier side of things, and according to my microphone footage, I have 4 hours and 7 minutes worth of footage. Thank you so much for watching this video and donating your time to me, because as I've already said in this video, your time is precious, and I just hope that you are having a fantastic day, fantastic week, fantastic month, fantastic year, and I hope that you are doing as fantastic as always. Bye everyone.